October.
Doug?
Hey,
She's trying to figure out the order thing. Well,
She sold it.
yeah, we did, thank you.
Oh, yeah, she does.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
She's friends with.
Oh, that's
dad.
hilarious. I've never seen his dad. I knew it was Tim also.
Looks just like him, just an older version.
Yeah.
So scary.
Yeah, yeah, just stay in it.
Did you not have her in the picture? Yeah, well, that's what she.
No, that was,
Usually I
That
got
was her name.
Do you need mine to show you?
Person names.
Is she sure he has a Facebook? No, you're good.
I thought it was.
I'm gonna put it up there, I'm
Yeah,
just
she
hoping
was
there's
really
somebody.
It's felt.
helping her talk somebody.
I think you're right.
And we're not being very successful. Epic fail.
Found everybody in the family.
Because she's thinking.
look who showed up, Tyson Lindell. I thought he did too.
So 5,500 is for
Everything can see. If I want to speak, man, I try better.
I said you see,
Anything, not liked any of the comments or anything.
you said you wanted to be the sidekick tonight.
He's taking my spot.
Yeah.
Their hospital coming.
Oh my gosh.
What's this?
That's my teacher through school.
Right. 2 kids that were affected by the tornado with children. Okay, now we're gonna budget 2 families with kids. Like, what?
Tina.
What?
Yeah, like,
She looked at you.
yeah. Like comments or.
3 minutes.
Or she was excited to show you. You got that one, I guess you probably must have got
We'll give this cheap little thing. Put it on the website.
Sorry, I should have you. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Gotta do
This
that.
lady like the It's driving me nuts, but can't find this woman's name. I will.
See, she's trying to do something totally different. Can't find it. Darn Facebook. How are you? Yeah.
That's what Lindell had. He's been saying he's running for great country.
What is Pam Warren?
I didn't need it.
Because here's
So he's gonna make it up. I think he's gonna run for great country.
All right.
Yeah, it is for Pam, M-O-R-I-N. I don't know where she is. Is he
Okay, call the meeting to order.
Sim,
Here.
Mears. Here. Price.
Here.
Bacon, I'm present.
Okay, we'll stand for pledge.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, guess we have Brookville and New Lebanon Fire Department here. We'll talk about the fire contract with them. Where we're at, what we're doing, what we want to do. I don't know who wants to go first, but.
Okay. All right, I guess we're going alphabetically. So we met with New Lebanon, we met with Missy, and essentially the contract that we're proposing for the next 3-year period remains the same as we had previous, with an exception to an added article that addresses the fire protection contract having a shortfall for revenue. In other words, the contract is not keeping up with the increase in cost of living, cost of fuel, the additional costs. New Lebanon can speak to how that's handled. In Brookville, additional monies have to be taken from the Brookville General Fund to supplement what fire protection contracts doesn't cover. So that particular addition to the contract that the fire departments, ultimately that the city and the village would like to see, addresses a 3% increase in the distribution annually, and it's outlined there in item number 7. So essentially that is the difference from the previous contract to this proposal. JC, you have anything?
Yeah, and a lot of the price increase that you're seeing is the way that we have to staff now. We have very minimal volunteers, so we're staffing both the medic and our fire apparatus with in-house part-time personnel. The 3% increase is just, it's on the low end. Everything fire and EMS goes up 3 to 6% per year.
And obviously the other issue that's addressed there is, again, because it is just a means to try to offset the increasing costs that the levy income does not address. Should there be a fire levy that's successfully passed during the life of the contract, then number 7 becomes null and void, because again, the levy proceeds would be expected to certainly offset those increases.
Not at this point. At this point, there's not questions from the audience, all right? We're just dealing with this, okay? So you've got this proposed 3% compounded year. As far as And I'm not sure where we come up with that money, 3% either. From our budget.
I mean, honestly, I would think if that's not something that the budget allows for, that screams the need for a fire levy, okay? If the Perry Township coffers don't have the ability to provide the needed revenue, it's certainly an unfair position to put the city and the village in to find it within the general fund coffers in those communities to make up the shortfall.
Well, one thing about the whole situation, Brookville Fire Department's probably got 3% less houses to service now since the tornado. They're gone. It'd be about 3% out of our township. I'm pretty sure it would be pretty close to that. I mean, there's a number of them that are gone.
Yeah, 3% would be a big number.
It'd be 30-some, and I bet there's that many gone. I mean,
By
so-
in the Brookville Fire District, the Perry Fire Levy services 916 residents there. And another, roughly 15, according to the latest voter district, 1,500 and some residents
In Perry?
in Perry, that are Perry and that are Brookville D. And that's a difficult number because the voting districts do not break like the fire and EMS districts do.
So let me get this right, you're wanting 3% from Clay Township as well as Perry Township, is that correct?
Correct. Clay, number 7 will be in the Clay contract as well, is that they would be subject also, the need to pass a fire levy is in Clay as well.
Maybe we need to get some clear numbers about where we're at as far as what's been deleted as far as households, looking at maybe what some of the other revenue that comes in, just to see where we're at. I just think we need a little bit of time on this thing. I mean, we kind of jockeyed that around, or at least I have, with what information that I've had, and I suppose you guys get the same information, but I really haven't got to a clear-cut decision on that thing.
I just wasn't sure where, when I saw this, where the 3% was gonna come from.
3% was the low end, as Chief Keiser said. We experience anywhere from 3 to 6% cost increase each year, typically in fire and EMS. I'm sure you experience similar in police, from the standpoint that we can always anticipate what we bought this year will be more expensive next year.
What are you, well, on the 3%, you're looking at around 4,300 increase over the 3-year period.
That would be times 2.
Well, times 2, yeah, that's for each department, correct? Yes.
Wouldn't that offset thought be changed by the
We,
fact-
not right now. No public. I don't know, our budget, Rhonda can address that better, but I don't see how it could do it.
Not out of the general fund.
There's no way. And
I know when I spoke to you, we said something about putting a levy on. But when we took it to the voters, they voted it down. That's, what do we, and like I stated that day, what do we do if they vote it down? Because if they vote it down, where are we gonna come up with $8,000?
Well, I can't answer on behalf of Brookville Council ultimately, it would have to be the council that, I mean,
Right, yeah.
the contract is truly with the city of Brookville.
Okay.
And it's not with me
No,
or
yeah.
or the fire department.
Yes.
And so I can't say, well, if the bill isn't paid, then you don't get the service. That's, and that's certainly, you know, if nothing else, I don't want that to sound like a threat. That's not the situation. But the problem is, there's a cost. And I know several years ago, Mr. Sim asked me where we could cut. And I can tell you within the Brookville Fire Department, there are two places to cut. You can cut the on-duty staff, which would go from 5 to 3. And if you go from 5 to 3, you go from having 2 ambulances in service to 1. And if there's only 1 ambulance in service, that means EMS revenue is cut, so your savings is a net 0. You didn't save any money because revenue got cut with those 2 people. The only other expense that the Brookville Fire Department has that is not essential is my position. And Brookville Council, as we have discussed our money issues, et cetera, has said they are not going to cut the fire chief's position, but that's the only full-time position in the city. So you either cut the part-time staff, you cut the full-timer. We have no extra programs to say, well, we'll tighten the belt here and that'll save this many thousands of dollars. There's nothing there.
You guys got 43 part-time?
That is correct. I have 43 part-time personnel, which is what we carried it to get to that 5 people on duty around the clock.
So Brookville or New Lebanon, do you have an approximate cost, what it costs you per run? Now, I know there's some variables in that, but do you have an approximate, what it costs per run, say on an EMS run?
I don't have that broken, JC.
I mean, I guess if you're going with the overall, you would just go with your overall revenue, and then divide that by how many calls you have a year.
Well, approximately at the current, the number of calls, by the amount of money you're getting, it's $900 and some per call. And that's why I'm asking that question. That seems like a sufficient amount of money to me, but
Let me
maybe
ask
not. I don't know. That's where I'm wondering
Well,
what your cost
Let me ask
is.
you a question also. When you have an EMS call, do you also bill the insurance company for that as well as?
Some calls, but not all. It depends on the call.
So some of these you double dip.
So how do you choose which ones you do or you don't? I mean, I'm just curious as to that.
Okay, I'm pretty sure we covered this ground a lot.
And I don't recall, we may have, I'm sorry if we did, but I'm just,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, so the way EMS billing works is, number 1, there is a difference in charge, resident versus non-resident. Okay.
Yeah.
Number 2, and what that exact number is, I don't have that figure immediately in front of me. Number 2, our billing parameters, again, Chief Geezer can speak to theirs, I think they're similar. We only charge for a removal made to a hospital, and the billing that happens for that either goes to the person if they're a self-payer, or goes to their insurance company for payment. If they don't have insurance, we typically don't see a dime. There has been a downturn in revenue from EMS billing as more folks have went to self-pay, as they go to HSAs. When they're responsible for 100% of the bill, that puts them in a position to say, well, I'm not paying you anything. And we do not have a means to take anyone to collections for that, so those amounts have to be written off. But it's only removals to hospital. We run a significant number of calls that are what is known as lift assists. Basically, someone has a family member or someone that is choosing to live at home that just needs the assistance of getting off the floor back into a chair, they're not injured, etc. That's the kind of EMS call. There is no bill for that. There's also no bill for an auto accident. Should someone be checked out, whether they're injured or not, if they don't go to the hospital, there's not a bill. So the bill is triggered by the removal of the hospital. The one point that I want to make extremely clear is the reason that we've been able to sort of survive to this point is solely because of EMS billing. Because if EMS billing was not there, you could probably have to double the amount you would be needing to collect in fire and EMS levies. Years ago, EMS billing was the Band-Aid that was put on everything to move from where the residents provided the service for whoever needed it, whether they lived here or whether they were passing through, to where EMS billing shared the cost of fire and EMS with those who are using the service, regardless of where you live. So the combination of taxpayers providing for the service and the people who use the service contributing to what it costs has been a fairer way to do it in many people's vision. Because if you're traveling through our jurisdiction on I-70, you haven't contributed a dime to the fact that there's an ambulance there and available for you, or you're staying in one of our hotels, or any number of things that would bring you to Brookville. Well, without EMS billing, that person gets all the services for free. It's all in the resident taxpayer.
That's what I was gonna say, so we as taxpayers, our taxpayers are paying for that service to them people.
So the way I would encourage you to look at it is the money that's paid in property taxes, make sure that there is fire trucks and ambulances and people ready to go, much like an insurance policy. It's there if we need it. And then the additional cost goes to those who utilize that service. So EMS billing to a resident costs less than EMS billing to a non-resident.
I want to address both chiefs here. Is there been any belt tightening within the fire departments and the EMS departments? The reason I bring that up is I know for a fact, I talked to some guys that drove the fire truck to lunch. You know, 3 or 4 guys get in the fire truck and go to lunch. I'm not so sure I like that.
Sure.
I'm not so sure that I like the idea of, you got a fender bender and you send a ladder truck out. I'm not so sure I like that. Yeah, so is there a way that you could possibly tighten your belts a little bit to help this whole situation?
I'll offer that you must not have very accurate information, because neither of our departments have a ladder truck.
Well, I'm using that as an example.
So it's used to be a fire truck?
Right, fire truck.
Okay, so the fire truck and the folks going to lunch, the choice would have to be, do you want a response delayed because folks went to lunch?
Of course not, but couldn't somebody drive their car to McDonald's and pick it up instead of driving the truck to McDonald's?
Yes.
One guy go out?
Or bring it back and sack lunch.
And so we run fire engines with 2 people on them. So one half of that crew leaves in a car. It waits on that car to come back so that those 2 people can get on that fire truck and take that call. It's our fuel cost, even if we would eliminate what you're describing, the savings does not come close to covering the need that an additional levy will bring in.
Well, I understand it doesn't cover the whole thing.
Oh, it doesn't. I mean, we're literally arguing about dimes when the discussion is about dollars here.
Dimes make dollars, so.
So
Okay.
we're paying you, how much are we splitting with them?
135, 345 a year. 135,345
Okay, and that,
per year.
And that, I was gonna say, our receipts are typically right at 100,000 a year. So that would total 200,000 total
That was
between.
based on 2018's distribution,
Yeah, that 135.
that 135.
Okay, that's,
Your receipts just for Perry Township?
yeah, I was going off of memory of what some.
so it is 135 each?
That was 2018 distribution, so that would have been 2017 tax collection.
Okay, so,
I have sheets if you want to see them.
okay, so help me, is the runs that you have out here versus the runs that you have in town versus, you know, the nursing home and all that, how many runs are we having out here? Does that 135 cover the runs out here?
In Brookville,
In
that
Perry,
130,
what we're paying you, the 135,000, are they covering the runs in Perry Township?
in the Brookville district.
In Perry Township, from my taxpayers, who's paying you?
Okay, realize you have city of Brookville taxpayers who are also paying you as
Yes.
well. So,
Yeah, the 1,500 people, right?
so,
Right.
yes. So is the cost that Perry Township, folks that are paying the Perry Township fire levy covering the costs, we have to identify which costs you want to identify. Operational, equipment, manpower. That is exactly, that is, you have a fire department here, there's really two fire departments that cover Perry Township,
Right,
okay?
yeah.
And so, are you going to look at it geographically, or are you going to look at it by population, or do you want to look at it by calls? That $4,000, that annual $4,000 increase, if you were to just say, you know what, we'll just send a bill to whoever did it, it was $14 to cover that, that 4,000 for the roughly 300 calls that Brookville took in the areas that are serviced by the Perry Township levy. So that's the areas, Terrace Park, Meadows of Brookville, and unincorporated Perry Township.
Chief Fletcher, what you were saying, 100,000, that 100,000 goes into your general fund, the city of Brookville. The remaining goes into your fire capital
Goes in there,
improvement.
yeah. That's why 90 was stuck on it.
And both departments are actually out of the general funds, or out of the capital improvement funds within the city of Brookville, and the village are pulling money for major purchases out of budgets that have nothing to do with the fire department. The last medic that New Lebanon bought, roughly $230,000, the village paid for that. A tanker, 2 years out, the projected cost, $625,000,
When was the last medic bought that you left?
2 years ago.
Well, you put on a levy since that, the residents pay 5 mills
We
for
have
equipment.
not passed any additional revenue.
Huh?
We have not passed any additional revenue since that medic was purchased.
There was a 5 mil levy put on several years ago.
Went down. There was one that went down just recently.
There's one that's on there though, too. For New Lebanon, a 5 mil levy that the residents pay. If you look at the tax breakdown, it's on there.
Correct, but what I'm saying is the village paid out of the general capital improvement fund, nothing to do with the fire department. They paid for that medic.
Because I believe that raises about 144,000, if I remember right off the top of my head, out of the village residents, if I remember correctly.
Well, I have it broke down if you want to see it by year, what each levy brings in, what EMS billing has brought in since 17. I have the grants that have been brought in. I have what's came out of capital improvement fund, total expenditures, and then I have Perry in and Perry out, how much revenue we've got in EMS billing since 2017.
How do you, how's it handled like at the nursing homes? I mean, I don't want to knock the nursing homes, I'm not meaning that by any means. But if I got a car wash and I use a lot of water, I'm gonna pay a water bill. And if you got a nursing home, you got older folks that's got problems, and so you're probably gonna have more EMS calls. Is there anything like kicked back from the nursing homes toward the fire departments to help cover part of that?
Chief Fletcher, you want to address that or you want me to?
Yeah, I can, and I can speak for Brookville. About 25% of our call volume relates to Brookhaven, okay? Brookhaven pays a substantial amount of property tax, which comes to us. And then in turn, they actually have an extremely high percentage of folks who pay their EMS bill because you're not in a nursing facility without some sort of insurance. So therefore, those insurance companies are paying their bill. And in fact, in comparison, they are a higher payer. They pay their bill more than the average citizen in comparison. When you compare, you want to compare them to the rest of the population, their use of fire and EMS is no different than any other thriving business that we would have in our jurisdiction.
Two questions. How did it negatively affect Brookville when Payless Shoes went out? And how is it going to positively affect Brookville if GM builds that plant there?
The negative impact was a loss of income tax to the, I'll use a round number, 700 jobs, 600 jobs that were there. 20%, anywhere from 20 to 22% of my budget, which that is monies that the fire levies don't cover, come from the money that comes in from income tax. So that's one of the concerns that we would have for fire and EMS, is if the fire and EMS levies don't bring in the necessary revenue, right now Brookville is able to supplement the difference 20 to 22%. With the shot of a loss of a big employer, it's more difficult for the city to guarantee me year after year that there'll be enough money that they can supplement 20% of my budget. If we would lose another big employer, that would be that much more threatened. By the jobs coming in that should be created by General Motors, the net effect should be there is less likelihood that the city tells me, hey, we don't have 20% that we can supplement. So it would be very important for the levies to be self-sustaining for the operation. And now, of course, that means an increase in the Perry and an increase in the Clay, because that's what affects, that's when I speak of what the contracts bring in, it's those two contracts.
Does the city of Brookville have any perspectives as far as how many people will be employed at the new GM plant? Is it rock solid that it is coming in? How much are they gonna have their own fire department in there, or is it gonna be taken care of? So there should be a substantial amount of money come from GM to subsidize whatever we're not paying, right? Is that correct or not?
Whatever we're not paying.
Well, we were talking about the 3%. Is that going to be made up? I mean, you look at the big picture, is that going to be something that's made up by this new plant that's coming in?
There's a few questions in there. So I think one of the questions I speak to are more rock solid numbers beyond what I've seen reported on jobs, which I believe was somewhere in the area of 90 for phase 1. If you want to go with numbers that were publicized when another community in Montgomery County lost out on that plant, it was 700 and some jobs. That was a number that was used. I have no firm information on any of that. As far as the impact of that plant coming in, I look at that plant as having no different impact than Green Tokai, which Green Tokai is a motor vehicle manufacturing company with a similar number of employees, and they have a very minimal fire and EMS impact. We have very little activity there. I do not anticipate a lot of fire and EMS activity with General Motors. It's just not the kind of place that has a lot of fire and EMS calls. And I think I got all the questions.
Of that, when you spoke about Brookhaven, they pay $113,000 in real estate taxes. The fire department collects 2 levies off them. One's $1,285 and the other is $3,320. So you get $4,600 off Brookhaven. At the rate you're figuring that covers 5 calls.
Yeah, I guess.
And I mean, so I think the community subsidizes an awful lot there. And I'm sure New Lebanon's, I don't know, whatever their nursing home, I'm sure it's a similar situation. But it seems like there's a big subsidized by the taxpayers for them facilities.
I guess I don't, number one, I've not seen the numbers you're looking at. I don't know
I
how that
give you
compares.
either. It's
I don't-
on the
I don't, well, I mean, but I've not done the math as far as to know whether that's a high number or a low number in comparison to other properties. And I guess the question I would ask you is, if you have a resident who pays, let's just make it a round number, and they have $50 in property taxes that would actually come to the fire department, and they call the ambulance 15 times in a calendar year. So again, you know, we can't twist these numbers to make them fit one particular story. The bottom line is, there's a need for additional revenue. And believe you me, if the fire department had the ability to place a levy on behalf of itself, we certainly would. The township, it's the township's levy. It is not the city's, it is not the fire department's. So, you know, it's the township, you know, the township is the one that has the ORC expectation to have a fire department or contract for those services. You know, I mean, I'm a township resident. I don't like to pay taxes any more than anyone else. But I also have responsibility to provide fire and EMS services. And, you know, let me assure you, I feel I'm very tight with regards to the money and how we spend it. But there are expectations. I can you know, give an explanation whether it sits well or not. I can tell you that fire truck, for example, that you brought up, Mr. Price, that is out in the community, and they are picking up lunch, whether they're getting it from a restaurant or they're at IGA getting it to bring back to the firehouse and cook. Bottom line is, that fire engine has been equipped to handle every emergency that we're responsible for. So if it's a non-breathing person that they're 30 seconds from, they don't drive all the way back to the firehouse to get an ambulance and come to them. They're there in 30 seconds because they're on duty, they're ready to respond. That cost savings of not taking that vehicle and going is offset by their immediate ability to respond to emergencies.
Well, what about if it's 30 seconds from the firehouse and the truck's 8 minutes away?
Well, they're not permitted, well, I mean, but that's unrealistic. They're not permitted to go 8 minutes away to
Well, from
get that
firehouse to
done.
McMahon's, in a big truck like that, might take that long. Or they go with lights and sirens on, everybody gotta get out of the way. I don't know. Let me ask you this, what would be the impact, and what would be the end result, as you both have, if the 3% were not there? What would happen then? Would there be some, you know, there's 43 people up there that are part-time. How many reside in that firehouse?
How many stay there?
Yeah.
5. We keep 5 on duty around the clock.
Okay, and you have 9 facilities for people to stay, right?
Correct.
So I think there's 32 TVs in there, right?
Okay, I'll tell you, if we are beyond what we're here to discuss, there, regardless of that money, the TVs, for example, if you want to bring that out now, those purchased by the firefighters, not the taxpayer, okay? Or the kitchen table, or the recliners, you know.
I'm not trying to cause any problems. I got questions that are coming to me, and I need to convey those to you in hopes of getting an answer to that.
Okay, so as we've covered this before, I'm sorry that you haven't been in on that dialogue, but maybe that's something as a board we work out ahead of time, because we're covering the same old ground, and none of it has anything to do with the fact that the fire levy is not bringing in enough money to cover the operation. It has nothing to do with TVs, it has nothing to do with whether the firehouse has 9 bunk rooms or 5, okay? We were charged with building the firehouse for that community for the next 50 to 70 years, okay? We know that in 5 years, we're not gonna get extra money to add 2 bedrooms should the need be there. The building had to be built the right way the first time. So there's the answer to that.
The
as to why there's
the
none.
problem with the whole scenario is, okay, maybe you're short up on money, and that's what you're telling us, and we gotta say, okay. The problem is, if you look at the tax breakdown, just like Brookhaven, I pulled that one.
Okay.
There is, I believe, 15 school levies on Brookville's, on the tax breakdown. There's 4 CTC ones, so that's 19 school levies. And it becomes hard for people, you know, to keep, and how do you, I don't have the answer. How do you keep saying, okay, we need another levy, you know?
Okay,
It's hard. I don't know what to do.
Can we fundamentally, do you understand the cost of what we do?
I do.
Goes up, just like our household cost, just like every other cost.
And that's, you
We're
said
subject
right
to
there,
this.
that's the problem. People's household costs go up and they can't pay more tax, and that's the big ultimate problem. And what do you do? I don't know. I don't have the answer really.
As a trustee, I understand. I'm trying to.
Yeah, that's.
But, so I kind of figured this out. So if we asked to put a 0.25 on this thing, that would generate $13,780, which we could divide between both of you, right? Give or take.
According to contract, it'd be divided.
Yeah, so, yes, so that would be enough, or there would be extra. So you guys would be satisfied with that, if we could get that, right?
Well, I can tell you that personally, when I sit down and I have the questions coming from Clay Township, because it's ironic that you both each have the same questions about the other. Why doesn't Perry pay more? Well, why doesn't Clay pay more?
Right.
Okay? Again, bottom line is, the cost of us doing business continues to go up, and these levies remain flat.
Right.
The revenue's there. So the money has to come from somewhere, and again, I can't speak for Brookville Council, but I look for that to be an unacceptable situation year after year after year, where the city general fund is making up for the shortcoming of the levies.
And I know I asked you this question when I met with you. What do we do if we do if we do agree to put a levy on and the voters say no, and we don't have the money? What happens then? You know, we're still paying. Are we still going to be paying you the $135,000 that we're getting now? And are you going to give us service, or you're not going to give us service? How does that work? I mean, that's just a legit question.
Yeah, I am in no position to tell you what would happen if you know. I use this example often, and I don't like using refuse, okay, as a comparison. But I would use the example. The difference is, we have a service to provide, and unfortunately, we do that service based upon whatever you're able to gather up, based upon the levy, okay? We're the only contract I'm confident that you have that's that way with an outside provider, okay? With a trash service, they tell you what the cost is gonna be for a year, and you come up with
We go out
that
for
money.
bids on a trash service.
Well, again, if that would be the choice.
Maybe
if
you
would like to
guys
look
could
for
get in the bid
provider-
war and we could get a better price.
Do what?
Maybe you guys could get in the bid war and we could get a better price.
Actually, yes, I'll speak for Brookville, and I know this is the position my city council has. They are not interested in covering any more of Perry Township than what we do now.
It's just, you know, I, as an individual, am pretty fortunate. You know, I didn't have, but no damage from the tornado. I mean, and that's another hard one, I think, to go and ask people under the circumstance. In the
tornado doesn't make the problem of revenue go away.
No, but it increases the problem than people already have.
You
know, if you add more taxes onto it, that's a hard thing to add on to them, I think. I mean, there's been a lot of And you know, I think Perry Township went and helped the fire department and everybody a whole lot. Getting back through them roads and, you know, where's our 3% for that? You know? We did a lot of work in around Brookville. I mean, we were there within the hour that night after that tornado hit and opened roads so the fire trucks and police cars could get to these emergency situations. Where's our 3%?
But that's a one-time thing.
That's right.
We're talking over time here. The costs
But
are
it-
going
it
up
cost
3
us
to
that night,
6%.
or
I
that-
understand.
That-
3 to 6% every year, these costs are going up.
But
That's
we
what they're
dipped,
saying.
I understand that,
Haven't
but we
you
dipped
submitted-
big into our whole situation over
Haven't you
that.
submitted though for reimbursement?
From FEMA?
We haven't gotten a thing.
Well, no, and we have not been.
Don't know if we
reimbursed
ever will.
either, but are you not part of the reimbursement costs?
We've submitted.
Okay, so you asked where your money is. I believe the federal government, it's checks in the mail. I don't know what to
I'll
tell
believe
you.
that check when I see it. I really question, I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think it's just, you know, like you and we all talked about up there, you know, with the tornado and everything else. And then Brookville wants us to help them out with the log jam in Wolf Creek, you know,
There's
and
another one.
that's gonna cost, you know, buku bucks. And as a small township, we're struggling. And I was honest with you that day. I said, you know, you're talking how much you got in your general fund. We're lucky if we have 1,000.
I truly,
And I
get
know.
that. And you know I get
Yes,
that.
I get,
That's just-
it's just.
I guess the thing is this, you're telling me that there's just no money. But I would think that you realize, I'm assuming that you see the need for fire and
Yes.
EMS service.
I don't have an issue.
So personally, I don't understand why you didn't have a levy on and don't have a levy on every opportunity you have it, because you know the costs increase. It's not like if I shut my eyes real tight, the bill will go away.
No, I understand that, but
Well,
my point is,
also-
when you keep asking me as a taxpayer over and over and over again for more money, it's like,
I'm not asking the taxpayer.
what do you mean you're not?
You're
You're-
asking
you're-
us.
you're the
as
board.
fi- Yeah.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying, but you're.
Wait a minute. You're asking us, we've been putting these seats as fiduciaries for the people of this township. We take care of their money,
I understand.
and we do a pretty good job at that. The lady back here brought up 3 to 6% per year. Is this something that's gonna be ongoing every year, because it's gonna keep going up and up and up, and then
If there is no change in the revenue, then yes, our costs continue to go up. See, we don't get to sit and negotiate our costs with anybody, okay? Our costs continue to go up. We have, and like I said, fortunately, I have another source of revenue right now. I don't know, I definitely can't guarantee that continues across the life of this contract. 3 years, I don't have a crystal ball.
Well, sometimes you just gotta get creative and make adjustments. I don't care, you can
So tell me what you don't want. Do you not want a fire truck? You don't want an ambulance?
park one of them, maybe we can do one less. Well, I mean, how many you got? I mean
How many do
seriously,
you need?
I don't know, how many do you got?
Well, see, I tell you what, the
I'm
better
just-
You
thing
can
to
put that
do-
right back on you, and you guys could get creative and come up with something. I mean,
Well,
Yeah, we
I
have
would
a big
you're asking
decision.
them to park a fire truck.
I don't know, I mean, you know, how do you,
Are we told 135,000, so that's 270? Is that what brings?
Yes.
Could I ask a quick
Sure.
question? I know it's-
not right now.
This has to do with this increases and what we're talking about.
Not right now, there'll be a time at the end, you can ask, but.
Well, please, I would really encourage the board to look into what you could do with $270,000 and handle fire and EMS then in Perry Township. But you would have to take away some of that, because I got 900 residents in the city of Brookville who wouldn't pay into that. 'Cause they're not
They
gonna
wouldn't
pay
have
for
fire
services.
service at all.
Well, no, they would receive it from the city.
So then Brookville would have to put a levy on.
Well, Brookville would have to continue to fund it from the general
You can't
fund.
do that because you double dip on the people that live in Perry Township and they're in Brookville. And you got Clay and they're in Brookville, and Brookville puts on a levy, they're double dipping on those taxpayers. You can't do that.
Well, I think Thank you for your information, all of you. Unless you got anything else, I just think we need to table this and then come back to it. Yeah. I mean, unless you have any other information to share.
I have, so I basically put together a rough, very limited equipment list, projected cost for a fire department. So 2018 pricing to build a firehouse is $310 a square foot. So roughly $930,000 for a 3,000 square foot building. Architectural fees, $65,000. An engine tanker, 2021 pricing, $645,000. A medic with cot and no equipment, 2 years out, $285,000. A LifePak 12, $18,000. A Lucas device, $15,000. A brush truck, $115,000. Bunker gear, about, and I put 33, which is wrong, it's actually about $2,300 a set. So for 10 sets, $32,000. One firefighter, paramedic, part-time position at $15 an hour per year, $131,400. One firefighter EMT basic position at $12.50 per hour, $109,500. SCBA's $3,000 to $5,000 a piece, so $30,000 to $50,000 for two. One thermal imaging camera, $6,000. Extrication tools, 2011 pricing, $24,310. So that's a total of $2.4 million just on that list of equipment.
Right.
And that's.
But you don't buy
phones,
a new
and-
truck every year, you don't buy a thermal imaging camera every year, just like I'm a farmer, a corn planter's $100,000, I don't buy one every year. You know, I make it last a number of years, you make your equipment last a number of years, you don't build a fire station every year.
Correct, but.
I mean, you use this stuff over a period of how many years, you know, it's not a yearly expense, you can't figure that as a yearly expense.
We're not saying that as a yearly expense. I'm saying that that is what bare bone minimum to get off the ground as a fire department.
Right.
Well, we all know in logistics, that's never gonna happen in Perry Township. We all know
Correct.
that.
And that's 10 years of revenue
Yeah.
approximately that we bring in.
Yes. I make a motion that we table this and discuss it.
A second.
Mears,
Yes.
Price,
Yes.
Sim.
Yes. Okay, the minutes from the September 10th board meeting.
Dale, do you want the other this one?
Pardon?
Want the other this one?
Oh,
I didn't have one on the agenda.
yeah, ma'am, I guess you, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Go ahead and introduce
Ye-
yourself.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for inviting me. My name is Tamala Womack, and I am running for judge for Montgomery County Municipal Court. And I have over 20 years of legal experience. I currently work as a magistrate at Fairborn Municipal Court, presiding over criminal, traffic, civil, small claims, and eviction matters. But I live in Montgomery County. I live in Hoover Heights. And a judge runs where she lives. And I'm just asking for you to consider voting for me. And if anybody has any questions. Great. Well, thank you for inviting me.
Thank you.
Mr. Creech, did you asked to come too, I guess.
Oh, I'll get
Oh.
mine. I'm just here to see what's going on.
Okay. All right. Okay, then we'll go to our minutes. September 10th.
I make a motion to accept the minutes from the September 10th meeting, September 2010-19.
Second.
Mears,
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes. Okay, and then the minutes from the special meeting of September 16th.
So moved to accept the minutes from September 16th special meeting.
I'll second it.
Mears.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
And then the accept the minutes from the nuisance abatement meeting, September 27th. So moved.
Second.
Sim.
Yes.
Mears.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Okay. Approve the payment of bills from check 34587 to check 34662.
Make a motion to approve payment of bills.
Second.
Price.
Yes.
Mears.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Approved to accept the faithful performance from Otarma, the bonds for the public officials.
So moved.
Second.
Sim.
Yes.
Price.
Yes.
Mears.
Yes.
I need a motion to approve the Montgomery County Intermunicipal Waste Service Agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Price.
Yes.
Sim.
Yes.
Mears.
Yes.
Tri-Bell will be at the Township October 15th at 6 o'clock to discuss with residents the electric and gas segregation. Brookville and Fire EMS reports are in the warrant folder. November 14th, MCTA is at Miami Township. The semi-weekly 941, the 941 quarterly, and the Schedule B 941 has been submitted, along with the state school and the courtesy withholding. Received printer from the state of Ohio that will be installed tomorrow. BWC sent a dividend check for 88% of the township's premium for the 2017 policy year. We paid BWC $7,571. The check amount was $6,662.48. Divided that between the general road and police. The amounts and rates resolution has been submitted and a confirmation signed by Carl Keith. Paperwork was sent to Ford Motor Company and the IRS for the police cruiser. And Trustee Sim and Fiscal Officer Binkin attended the WRC meeting at Farmersville on September 16th. For the trustees' report, the LED lights have been installed down here at Johnsville Brookville Road and Old Dayton. The emergency watershed, I did email the estimates and received confirmation of them receiving that. The handicap ramp, the notice to the bidders was going out this week and next week, be published in the Star for 2 weeks. And that's all I have.
The watershed protection situation is all the logs that were left in Wolf Creek from the tornado, which they're concerned that that's gonna create a dam and flood out Brookville if we get a big rain. And there's a portion of it in Brookville, a portion of it in Perry Township, and the people that have submitted bids, it's up in the $500,000 range to remove all that. There's huge logs in there. And they're, along with house debris of plywood, siding, roofing, and it's gonna be a lot of work. It's gonna be very important to get accomplished.
Dale and I were up there looking at that. We had approximately 1,200 feet one direction downstream, and Brookville had 1,200 feet the other direction. And it's a big job. It's going to really be expensive. So I don't know how we're going to get that.
I mean, it's huge trees and logs, and it just looks like somebody took a box of Lincoln logs and just dumped them. But I mean, these are full size, so it's
Any possibility of burning that in place?
No. It's got to be cleared 100 feet on both sides of the creek. So it's just a big job. I don't know how to bring it.
We did also attend the Housing Association meeting.
Oh, yes.
I forget what the date was on that, but, okay, road and cemetery, Doug.
Got all the footers done for this year. And the graves at the cemetery and everything, we've leveled off and seeded and got them looking good and everything too, so. Rick Phelps had called in, I guess, and asked about cleaning Erball Cemetery. Me and Dale went back there today, and wow, what a job he has done so far. Me and Dale are going over tomorrow to chip up the wood and everything that he's got back there. But he's got about, what, 3/4 of it
Yeah.
or so, somewhere in that area. It looks great. I mean, really looks good. So, yeah, he's done a great job.
He was wanting to do that and make it nice.
Yeah, and he did that all volunteer too, so he wanted to do it, and it looks great, looks super. We got all the roads mowed and everything, so we're caught up on all that for right now. So that's all I've got.
What about the salt bed roof?
Yes, Missy's got the 2 bids, I'm sorry, I forgot about that, yep. One's for metal.
One's for metal, one's for shingles.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to go with the metal roof on that.
Well, there was some concern from the contractors about the dust
The salt, yeah.
from the salt. And I was like you too.
Eating the rest, I know.
And
will
boy,
too.
I'm really in the middle on it now. I don't hardly know what.
What were the 2 estimates on that?
4,500 and 5,500.
55.
Metal was 55?
Yes.
Which,
But he would only guarantee it, I think, for the same years.
Same length.
Same length of time.
which is 10 years.
10 years. Metal versus the shingles.
They're not gonna remove the roof that's on there, right? They're gonna
If they
put the metal right over
if they
top
put
of it.
shingles back, they would.
Yeah.
Now, on the
but-
metal
Not on
roof, it says
metal.
no warranty except manufacturers, and on the shingles, it says 10-year warranty for shingles blowing off, for shingles blowing off. Okay.
The reason I ask that, if they leave the composition shingle on there now, the asphalt composition shingle, and put the metal over top of that, that salt dust is gonna have a hard time getting to that metal. It may last a lot longer than they project.
It may.
And it is high.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long ways above it.
Yeah.
I mean, it is.
And then if they put that lath across like we had discussed before, that might help matters too.
Yeah, I still think we ought to go with metal roof. What do you think, Dan?
I like metal a lot better. I mean, I just think overall it holds up better. I mean, I
We're
don't
gonna make a
know.
resolution to that. What's the guarantee on the metal roof, what'd they say?
I thought it was the same, but you're saying, he says
It
in
just-
that, I haven't read over all that yet.
Most of that metal anymore is guaranteed 30 years.
Years,
Now,
yes.
maybe on a salt situation, I know
Maybe
some
not.
livestock facilities,
It's
they
a
back off.
manufacturer, I think, doesn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No warranty except manufacturer's
Manufacturer
warranty.
warranty.
Okay, well, that's probably 30
Manufacturer's
years.
warranty, it's-
Yeah,
because it's-
normally it's 30 years.
Mhm.
I make a motion that we go ahead with metal roof on the salt bin.
I'll second.
Price,
Yes.
Sim,
Yes.
Mears.
Yes.
I mean, several people I've asked, everybody said no. So, that was.
I also want to make a motion that we remove the trees that are marked in the Pleasant Hill Cemetery. Somebody's got a lower bid than the contractor that I talked to. Get out and do the legwork and turn it in and get it done. I'm not gonna run anymore on it. I've worn myself out on this thing. I've got a contractor, somebody said you can get it cheaper. Well, I just wanna make a resolution that we get the
It's-
trees cut. and we do it
Something does have to be done.
within 2 weeks, because if one limb falls on one of those granite markers, it's gonna cost us a lot of money.
Well, We need
And we went out,
probably before we get snow.
Dale
That way,
and the two, that Dale and this Dale and that Doug, we went out to the cemetery, took a good look at what we were up against and sold the trees that were failing and in time are gonna come down. So we need to take those down and we need to get something contractual and get it done. Some of those are really scary.
well, yeah, they're gonna go down, they're gonna damage stones, and they're gonna, well, we had that situation 2 years ago in the summer where it was, we had all kind of trees down in there, and, you know, there couldn't even been a funeral conducted in there at that point in time. I know me and my son went and helped clean up, Rhonda, and I don't know who all, my wife, everybody's picking up limbs, and so. Okay. I guess we'll go to.
Okay, the fourth quarter 29, oh,
Do we get a second?
Okay, I'll second that, I'm sorry.
Price?
Yes.
Sim?
Yes.
Mears?
yes.
And is this still, if we can find a better price than the 1,000?
No.
It'll be that.
Well, I mean,
Well, whoever wants to do it,
yeah,
can do
whoever,
it.
I mean, whatever price we can get that's the best, yeah, as far as.
But I want it done within a week.
Well, like I say, I should be done in the month of October.
Yeah.
A week may be
Well, I
pushing
think we
it.
should know.
Well,
before we
right.
Do it within a week.
Right, yeah. I think it should be done this month before we get into weather and snow and. so. Okay, sorry, Kate.
That's all right.
We'll go back to.
Okay, the fourth quarter 2019 trash bills were mailed on September 27th, and the due date to avoid the late fee is November 1st. I issued a permit for a shed. I issued 3 permits for single-family homes. 2 of those are rebuilds from the tornado. I issued a certificate extension permit for a pole barn. Issued a permit for a POD, one of those pod storage things. Issued a permit for a home addition, a permit for a pond, a permit for a deck, and a permit for a detached garage, all since last meeting. I need a resolution to assess the taxes at 4629 Sulphur Springs Road for mowing by the Township Road Department. The amount to be assessed, including the county collection fee, is $591.89.
So move that we put that on the tax.
Second.
Sim?
Yes.
Price?
Yes.
Mears?
Yes. September 27th, the letter was mailed to the property owner of 15800 Little Richmond stating that a nuisance has been declared, must mow by October 4th. It has not been mowed, the township's going to have to mow that. October 2nd, a letter was mailed to the property owner of 14371 Eaton Pike to mow by October 12th. I'm working on scheduling the 2019 easement monitoring inspection that I do once a year. And just a reminder that the township offices are closed on Monday, October 14th in observance of Columbus Day. And that's all I have.
Okay, we'll go with the police department. Over the last 30 days, these are the calls for service that we've been called for. We've had 2 peace officer calls, fireworks complaint. We have assisted other agencies being New Lebanon, Police Department, or their fire EMS, same with Brookville, Trotwood. We've had 10 calls to assist other agencies. 1 domestic violence, 4 suspicious circumstances, would either be a suspicious vehicle or suspicious person type call. Juvenile complaint, property damage crash, 4 alarm drops, 2 open doors, 1 trespassing, 1 threats, an injury crash, 3 threats, and 1 shots fired. We were at the Montgomery County shooting range again a couple of weeks ago for some advanced training with room clearing and building searches. Perry Township participated in the fire prevention parade this past week. We're also participating in the Ghostly Night Out, October 26th, up in Brookville. And our OVI task force contract for 2020 has been signed. Oh, and our 3 vehicles are listed on Gov Deals. Those are suspected to come down about the 16th of this month.
Anything else?
Did you have any luck with the 2 vehicles going to Opata?
They responded with an email. They said they could probably come down in a couple of weeks.
Excellent. Good.
So.
Okay, anything else? Okay, anything, visitors have anything?
I'd sure like to say thank you very much for putting up the new lights down there on the corner. They're much brighter. More people are stopping going north and south than they were before. You don't understand. More people are stopping going north and south.
Okay.
Which is the yellow light. No, they're stopping. It's not the stop way.
I know. Good.
It is brighter. A mile away, you can see them much plainer. I've noticed that. So.
I've even had grain trucks go through there slower, right? Bright lights are changing things. I don't know whether it's good or not yet.
Well, they went from I think it was a 7-inch to a 10-inch LED. That's what I talked to the county about. That's what they put in. It did a really good job.
And they said there was a way they couldn't dim them down or something.
Yeah, I told them
no,
that's
don't dim them, keep them bright.
Take the dimmers off of it.
East-west traffic is stopping at the stop signs.
Cool.
Chad, you would say?
Well, my question's a little bit moot because the chief left, but, I mean, it was said there that we're having a 3 to 6% increase in the cost of operating the fire departments. I mean, I'm in the real estate business and we're seeing, 16 to 25% increases in property values in Montgomery County. Shouldn't that more than offset? I mean, this isn't a set number. We're milled on the values of our homes, and our homes are going way up, way past the cost of operating.
I can answer that.
Okay.
The way the millage works, it's based on what the value was when that millage was voted in.
Okay.
So unless you pass a new levy based on the new value that's sitting there, it's still just collecting the same amount of money it was when that value was set, when the
Okay.
millage was voted in.
So at that point, can't we go in and see what you need as far as operating costs and find out that we may end up getting less of a millage because our houses are all worth $100,000 more than they were in 2003 or 2012?
And that comes down to what they would like to put on. If they want to put a millage rate on the ballot, that comes down to them on what they want to put out there.
Okay.
And yes, it would be based on what the values are currently.
Okay.
Whatever
That's my question.
whatever that levy brings in, at the time it's voted in, that's what it always brings in. Now, an example is, if we've lost, say, 30 homes in Brookville, I'm just gonna throw that out, then the rest of the homes are gonna pick that up. It's gonna balance. I mean, that's, yeah.
Yeah, it's always going to generate that amount of money.
It generates that
That's what
amount,
I'm saying.
that's correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
Have you ever thought of charging a membership fee for fire services? I lived in LA and in the neighborhood I lived in, they couldn't pass a levy and they didn't have the money to continue to pay. So the fire department charged a membership fee so that if you paid your dues, then you had coverage.
Right.
If you didn't pay your dues, you didn't have coverage, and they literally would watch your house burn down because.
Many years ago,
you
they
didn't
had
pay
that
your
here, a
dues.
subscription. You had to have a subscription to have fire service.
Right.
And there was people wrote checks that came up with money real fast, I guess, if their house was on fire, is what I've been told by some older folks over the years.
I mean, if you can't pass a levy and you can't come up with this extra money,
Yeah, that did cross my mind.
you know, then the people that are paying now are probably going to continue to pay, they want the service. And your people that aren't paying their taxes and everything else that are riding off of the people that are paying and still collecting on those services, because it's not like if they don't pay their taxes, they don't get services. So if they're not paying their taxes, they're still being serviced.
Right.
But if you have a membership fee, if they don't pay that, they don't get service.
Can you answer me a question? Is there anything that we can do, okay, so like, back to this, Chief Fletcher said that you all send bills out to, like if I was taken to the hospital, can we as a township send a bill to the people? I mean, if there's a fire at their house, can we as a township, say Chad's house caught on fire, I can send him a bill? Because I had to send my police officers out there to block the road. Can I send him a bill for $200?
I think they're already doing that.
On EMS they are, now I don't know if they are on fire or not.
Yeah, we don't-
I
No,
don't-
I'm saying as us, not you guys. I know you guys do that. Can we do that? Because I had
I
to
think
send my
that's a
officers.
legal issue you would have to ask
Yeah, you would have to.
beyond
address that.
us,
Yeah.
yeah. You might need to ask your prosecutor on that if you're
Prosecutor.
allowed to bill. Same way with the subscription, whether you're allowed to.
I mean, there's things that there's other things that we could bill for. But it would cost more, if it makes sense, if this will kind of maybe give you an idea. So you could bill for crashes, for vehicle accidents, for every piece of apparatus you have on the scene. But by the time you go through and document it all and report all that and then send that to the insurance company, and you're probably actually spending more in the administrative fees to put that together than what you're gonna bring back in. Because it's very specific, because then all of a sudden you're getting into, well, I've got to collect this person's car insurance and I've got to collect that person's car insurance, and you have to know every single piece of equipment, how long it was there, what the fee is for that. So it just turns into, when you start going outside of the realm of EMS billing, you're doing more footwork that's going to be administratively more expensive than what you're going to bring back in.
There may be, Missy, if you think about it, if there's something with the billing that maybe isn't getting collected, then maybe the township could send a letter to those people that, you received the CMS bill and you didn't pay it. Maybe there'd be something along those lines.
Yeah.
You wouldn't really be billing them yourself, you'd just be reminding them that they didn't pay the bill that came.
Or can you add it onto their tax amount that they owe it?
Yeah, but like you said, the people who aren't paying the taxes, because I know someone individually right now who's not paying their taxes, who hasn't paid their taxes, but the ambulance has been there 3 or 4 times within the last 3 or 4 months. So in the meantime, I'm paying for it because they're paying their taxes.
And I totally understand that does happen, that, there's residents, I'll just say, that they may get, there may be 20 calls a year. After so many, should they be billed?
We had that up there.
I don't know.
At the end of the road, our neighbor, I know that the EMS was up there, how many times, Cindy? 10 in 6 weeks?
Honestly, well, probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
And, it's somewhere along the line, there should be a little justice, some kind
But
of
you
redemption
can't
on that.
deny
Well,
people.
you can't.
No, you cannot deny people.
Here's the thing, like Chief Fletcher said, fire and EMS is like an insurance plan. you pay on the likelihood or the possibility that you may have to use that service. You want that service to be there when you call for that service. Now, you may never call for that service, or you may call for that service 20 times a year, but somewhere along the lines, you're paying for that service as a taxpayer, and you're paying for the security of that when you call, that someone's going to show up and mitigate your emergency. And the cost for that don't go down no matter what. Whether you have 10 calls a month or you have 50 calls a month, you still have to pay for the equipment, you still have to pay for the maintenance, you still have to pay for those people to be there to respond. So, you know, there's still cost associated with how little or how much you use the service. There's always fees associated with that.
I know of 2 occasions when our backhoe was used to move a fire. Both times, the front tires were damaged to the point we couldn't use them. We had to replace those. Is there a reason why we have never gotten reimbursed by Brookville? It was their fire department that we were assisting, and tractor tires are not cheap. They're big money, and we've lost 4 of those on account of helping out the fire department. So, you know, it seems like all the revenue's going one way here.
I think it might even be in the contract we could bill, but we were gracious enough not to do that. We've never, whenever we've been called out, we've never chose to bill. I believe it might be in the contract that we can't. I don't know, I have to look.
I know it does say somewhere in there that we will help assist you if you need us.
There's another thing we can bill, 2%, I believe it is, on levy fees that we've never done.
I think that was ruled that you can't do that, that's illegal.
Is that, okay.
That was-
I knew, it's in the contract, so.
That was taken
Now maybe
That was taken out of the contract, because that was ruled illegal.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I just had a couple things I wanted to follow up on from prior trustee meetings. I know that at the last trustee meeting in September, Rhonda had talked about, like with the trash bills. You guys were discussing where the one resident was getting reimbursed for 2 months because of trash service not being picked up. And she was kind of talking about the administrative fees because there was a question whether refunding that. At that time, she had stated that we collect, I believe it was $17,992 annually in those fees. But at the same time, the last time they did an assessment for trash bills that were left unpaid and they had to go onto the property taxes, that cost was about $20,617 and a penny, which at that time she had stated that obviously with that, there's not even enough money in the fees to cover what is not being paid. My question is, are we receiving any of that money back from the county when they do the assessment on the property taxes? Because I mean, if they put it on their property taxes, wouldn't we get some of that money back when they pay their property taxes?
When they pay it,
Okay.
if the people pay their taxes.
Do you know roughly about how much we've been getting back and how often?
It's on the apportionment sheet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the one that you had posted online in September, September 11th, that we had received $3,382 from garbage and waste special assessment? Is that what that one is?
I don't know if that was in advance or the apportionment sheet. I have to go back and look.
Okay, because I had seen it where you had posted it on one of the Facebook pages that we had received that in, so I didn't know if that was for the trash that we got in.
No,
so that
because we
kind of
just
helps.
assessed that in September. We
Okay.
won't get that till next spring.
Okay, well, I didn't know if this was from like previous ones, previous assessments that had been done.
No, majority of that comes in the spring, some in the fall,
February.
not
Okay.
much.
I was just kind of wondering because I'd seen that, so I didn't know if that kind of helped offset some of the loss that was there between the administrative fees versus what wasn't paid and had to be assessed. The second question I have was, I know in the last several meetings it's been mentioned about the audit and about how basically what the cost is. And after kind of doing some research, and I saw that Governor Mike DeWine had actually signed House Bill 6, where do I have that here? House Bill 166, where it says, one of the things it covers in there is that there are township funds available through the state auditor that we can actually get help paying those costs. Is that something that, that we would be able to apply for to cover the cost of the audits?
I have never applied for it.
Okay.
We never have through the township.
Okay.
And we've questioned that, and nobody's ever brought that back up, because we've questioned about the cost of these audits and how burdensome they were to the township, and they've never indicated there was any help at all.
Well, in the research that I did, and this was even found out on the Ohio Township Association, on July 18th, it says that they were pleased to announce that townships will receive additional funding from HB 166 to help fill the gap in township general funds, which have been lacking in recent years. One of the things is it says is there's an allocation of an additional $10 million to the state auditor to help cover audit costs for townships. It says this additional GRF support will prevent local audits costs skyrocketing.
Well, maybe that's something new that just came about.
And that could be based on your budget as well.
Okay. I mean, I just didn't know if it was anything that we've ever applied for.
No, we've never
Been an
applied.
opportunity.
When did DeWine put that in? He's only been in a little short period. When was that?
Well, this was
House Bill
published July
166.
18th of 2019, but they've added to it. House Bill 166 adds an additional $10 million
Yeah, when
to
was
that
that?
fund.
When was that?
It was published by the Ohio Township Association on July 18th, 2019.
Well, yeah, but when did they add to, you said there was an addendum to that for $10 million?
This is included in that release that was
That's all
done.
House Bill 166?
Mhm. It's all House Bill 166, which it also states that townships will receive additional funding from House Bill 166 to help fill the gap in township general funds, which have been lacking in recent years.
It may be like the cemeteries, they have fund that they come up with on that too. You apply, but you don't, not everybody gets it.
Some of that stuff is like a lottery.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm just saying, I was wondering if we've ever applied for it, because you don't know if you'll get it if you don't apply for it.
I don't think the opportunity's ever been there up to this point to apply.
No.
And I doubt if it is yet. It may in the future be there, but I doubt if they're taking applications yet. I'm sure the Township Association would send that to you right away.
Yeah, I'm gonna call Mike Turner and see what he's.
But remember, we have saved over $20,000 in audit fees due to the qualifying for the AUP audits. So anywhere from $4,000, full audit is $11,500. So I've qualified for 3 of those. After you have 2, you have to go back to another full audit.
Which means in 2 years, we have to have another full audit, correct?
I will qualify for another AUP unless there's a change in board, it'll go back to another full audit. And that's standard.
Anybody else?
And the garbage and waste fund, when you were talking about that with the, remember, with the, every jurisdiction, once we created the trash district, set aside so much money in addition to the fiscal officer's salary issued by the state. So our township, when was that, back in the 90s? It was $250 a quarter, $1,000 a year. I've been here 3 terms, 12 years, and I have waived that. So there's $12,000 still in that garbage and waste fund that I have never taken.
You were entitled, that you could.
I was entitled, but I did not.
That's great.
Thank you.
You're welcome. $32,000 you saved.
Okay, anybody else?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Price?
Yes.
Mears?
Yes.
Sim?
Yes.